He was already standing at the edge of the driveway when I arrived. No lights on, no house in sight, just him. It was a rainy Thursday night in southern Georgia, and I was deep into my delivery shift. The kind of night where everything feels heavier, the sky, the road, even the air. Orders were slowing down, and I was thinking about calling it a night when one last request popped up. It was a decent payout and close to my current route, so I accepted without thinking much of it. The address was unfamiliar, somewhere just outside the city limits. GPS took me off the main road after 10 minutes and then kept rerouting through smaller and smaller turns. Paved roads became patched asphalt, then gravel, the kind of place where even the trees felt older. I kept checking the GPS, watching the little blue arrow inch along the narrow path. No streetlights, no signs, just shadows of branches scraping across the windshield like fingers. And then the voice from the app chirped, "You've arrived." At first, I thought it had GLITCHED. There was no house in sight, just a rusted metal gate half hanging open. Beyond it, a gravel drive vanished into thick woods. I was about to double-check the address when I saw him, a man standing just inside. The gate, no umbrella, no movement, just standing there in the rain with his hood pulled low over his face. My hand hovered over the gear shift. I wasn't even sure I should roll the window down, but I'd done dozens of odd drop-offs. This was just weirder than most. I cracked the window a few inches. Rain blew in. The man didn't flinch. He stepped forward and held out a hand toward the bag on my passenger seat. Something about the way he moved felt ... wrong. Not threatening, just deliberate, like he'd done this before. "What's the name on the order?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. He paused, just for a beat, then he said it. "The name on the ticket." Exactly. No hesitation. Too exact. I handed him the bag quickly. He took it with both hands and stepped back toward the darkness of the driveway. I didn't wait for a thank you. Didn't ask questions. I rolled the window up and pulled a tight U-turn out of there, heart hammering the whole way back to the main road in my rearview mirror. I saw him still standing there, same spot, just watching. Back in town, I pulled into a gas station to breathe and mark the delivery as complete. The order registered instantly, green checkmark, auto tip logged. But something caught my eye in the notes section, where it used to say, "Hand to customer." It now read, "Leave at door." That hadn't been there when I accepted. I know, because I always double-check for things like gate codes or dog warnings. I opened the delivery photo. The app usually snaps a shot when a drop-off completes, even if it's just of a porch. But the screen was black dot, just static, no image, no address, no timestamp. I thought about reporting it, but what would I even say? That the guy was too quiet. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I watched the dashcam footage from my car, which runs automatically whenever I'm driving. At first it looked normal, raindrops streaking across the windshield, the occasional flash of brake lights from my own vehicle. But then I paused the playback. The man was already there, standing at the gate before I turned the last corner. I rewound, slowed it down. There was no movement. He didn't walk up. He didn't approach. He was just there, already waiting. And something else. He never took the food, not on camera. The footage cuts from my hand reaching out to him, to the car pulling away, but the bag, still visible on the passenger seat. That didn't make sense. I started asking around, quietly, just other drivers I knew who took similar routes. Most hadn't heard of that address. One guy, Marcus, said he got a request out that way once, but declined it when he saw there were no houses nearby. But a few days later, my buddy Jace came to me, looking pale. Said he'd just gotten an order that took him to a gravel turnoff out near the state road. Said there was a guy standing at the edge of a gate, holding something in his hand. He didn't stop. He reversed out immediately and canceled the order as an assurance. That night, I opened the app and tried to find the address. Typed in the same customer name. Nothing. No history, no trace. Even my completed delivery, the one from a few nights before, was gone from my logs. It was like it never existed. Just to be sure, I copied the GPS coordinates from my dashcam footage and plugged them into Google Maps. What I saw chilled me. The area showed up as undeveloped land. No driveways, no houses, just dense forest. The satellite image was from the middle of last year. There was no gate, no gravel road, no structure, and yet I remember every detail of it. The rusted hinges, the mud puddles, the man's wet hood. Don't take orders outside the city anymore. And any time I see a note that says, "Leave at gate," I swipe left and keep driving. Every time. Because whatever that was, whoever he was, he didn't want food. He was waiting for something else. The package was for Unit 6B. I dropped it off, took the proof photo, and left. The next day, the leasing office told me 6B hasn't existed in over a year. I do late-night deliveries for a courier service, one of those big ones. National branding, cheap pay, long shifts. I've been doing it for a couple years now. You see some weird stuff on the night shift, but this has stayed with me. It was a Tuesday night, chilly, early spring, that time of year when the air still bites after sundown. I was about 7 hours into my route when I got the ping. A package to drop at the Edgehill Apartments on the outskirts of town. Not a great area, but not the worst either. Old buildings, low occupancy, outdated exterior lighting that made everything look dim and half alive. The GPS took me around the back lot. I parked by a cracked curb under one of those flickering yellow sodium lights. There weren't many cars around, and I didn't see a single window lit up. The package was a medium-sized padded envelope, lightweight. The label said Unit 6B, and that was it. No name, just the number. I walked through the breezeway, the kind that echoes every step with a hollow sound, like the building itself is listening. The directory at the entrance didn't list a 6B, which was odd, but not unheard of. Sometimes units are added later or mislabeled in the system. Up the narrow stairwell to the second floor, I counted off doors as I went. 6A was about halfway down the hall. At the end, just before a bricked-up fire exit, I found it. 6B, plain gray door, old brass number plate screwed into the wood. No mat, no doorbell, just chipped paint and a dull knob. I knocked, waited, nothing. Standard. Protocol is, no answer, leave the package, take a photo as proof. I placed the envelope carefully at the base of the door, backed up, snapped the picture. The flash bounced off the gray paint, giving everything a washed-out look. I remember how cold the air felt in that hallway, colder than it should have been. I turned to leave. That's when I heard it, just a soft creak, the sound of a door. Hinge moving, not slammed, not yanked, just opening. I stopped at the top of the stairs and looked back. The door to 6B was slightly ajar. No one in the frame. Just darkness beyond the crack. I hesitated. My first thought, maybe someone was home after all. Maybe they were slow to answer. Maybe they'd grabbed the package. Still, I didn't like it. There was something off about the stillness behind that door. Something about the way it opened, just a little, like it had been waiting for me to turn around. I left quickly, got in my truck, logged the delivery, moved on. The next morning, I got a customer service notification, a missing delivery inquiry. The recipient claimed they never got the package. My log still showed it as completed, with the proof photo attached. I opened the image again. There it was, the gray door, the padded envelope sitting neatly in front. But this time, something made me pause. In the lower right corner of the frame, just inside the threshold, was a shape. Not clear, not well lit, just a form, a silhouette, barely visible, like someone had been standing just behind the door when I took the photo, watching. I zoomed in, heart pounding. The figure didn't look right. Too tall, maybe too narrow. No face, just a pale shape where a head should be. I tried not to freak myself out. Told myself it was a trick of the light, maybe a coat rack, maybe a reflection. Something explainable, but something still gnawed at me. That sense of cold I'd felt in the hallway. That creak, the way the door opened just as I turned away. I called the Edge Hill leasing office. A woman answered, friendly at first, until I asked about Unit 6B. There was a pause. Then she said, "We don't have a 6B anymore. That unit was sealed off last summer. There was a fire. Nobody's lived in that end of the building since." I asked if it was possible someone moved back in. She said no. The whole wing was still unoccupied, repairs ongoing. In fact, they'd had contractors patch over the old door. "You sure you delivered to the right unit?" she asked. I didn't respond. That afternoon, I drove back to the complex. Same building, same stairs, same flickering light above the door. Only, this time, when I walked the second floor hallway, there was number 6B. New drywall, fresh paint, no brass number, no sign a door had ever existed there. I just stood there, staring, trying to reconcile what I'd seen with what was in front of me. Then I pulled up the delivery photo again, and now the figure inside. The doorway was clearer. You could see part of an arm, thin, pale, like it hadn't seen daylight in years. That night, I reported the photo and the whole situation to dispatch. When I refreshed my app 10 minutes later, the delivery entry was gone. Completely erased, no record in my history, like it had never been assigned to me. I printed the photo from my phone, needed to see it on paper, held it under the kitchen light and stared at the image of that hallway. The next morning, I looked again, blank. The hallway in the photo was empty. No door, no package, no figure, just a plain stretch of wall. I keep the printout in a drawer now, not because I want to remember, but because I need to convince myself it was real. I still deliver at night, but I won't go near Edge Hill anymore, and any time I get an address with a B unit and no name attached, I double-check the directory. If it's not listed, I don't go. Some packages aren't meant to be delivered. The customer said to leave the groceries inside the garage, but I didn't expect the door to already be open. It was one of those heavy, wet evenings in early October, the kind where the rain doesn't fall so much as it hangs in the air, misting everything with a cold cling. I remember checking the time, 9:38 p.m., my last delivery of the night. Just wanted to finish and get home. The order came through for a place out in Redfern Estates, a suburban cul-de-sac about 15 minutes outside of Seattle. Big houses with trimmed hedges and garages the size of small apartments. The customer had left a note on the order. Garage door will be open. Leave groceries on the table to your right. No need to knock. Seemed simple enough. By the time I pulled into the driveway, the rain had picked up, thick and relentless. I killed the engine, leaned over to grab the bags, and glanced toward the house. The garage door was already open, but not all the way. It was raised just high enough, maybe 4 feet, like someone had stopped it mid-lift. Not broken, just paused, deliberate. I sat there for a moment, watching. No movement, no lights from inside. Just the soft hum of rain and the occasional snap of wind tugging at leaves. The instructions were clear. Still, something about ducking under that half-open door didn't sit right, but I did it anyway. I crouched and stepped into the garage. My sneakers squeaked on the slick cement floor. There was a small folding table just inside, like the customer mentioned. I set the bags down, brown paper sagging with moisture. The place was tidy, but not lived in. A few tools on the wall. A workbench, a couple of tarped shapes along the back wall, maybe bikes or an old mower. The air smelled faintly of gasoline and something else, something faintly metallic. I turned to leave, and then I heard it, a soft creak, wood shifting under pressure, a shuffling sound, like fabric brushing against something solid. It came from behind one of the covered objects. I froze. "Hello," I called out. My voice didn't echo in that space. It just dropped flat against the walls. Nothing. The rain outside had gotten louder. The hum of it made the silence inside feel thicker. I didn't wait. To the car, and got in fast, hands a little shaky as I pulled out my phone to mark the delivery complete. When I backed out of the driveway, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The garage door was now completely closed. No sound, no movement, just down. I hadn't heard it move. It was just done, I told myself. Maybe the door had a timer. Maybe the homeowner had hit a button from inside. Maybe a motion sensor. But the house had been dark. The next morning, around 7 a.m., I got a notification through the delivery app. It was from the same address, 2 words, "Thank you." No new order, no rating, just that message. Something about it made my stomach twist. I checked the address in the app, wanting to double-check the order history. It wasn't there. Gone. No trace. The log showed nothing for that time slot. I gave in to curiosity and drove back out to Redfern. Same cul-de-sac, same clean sidewalks and neat hedges. But the house, the one from the night before, looked different in daylight. The garage door was bolted shut, literally. Heavy-duty metal braces ran across it in an X pattern, with thick screws drilled into the siding. A crooked for sale sign leaned in the yard, its plastic post wobbling with the breeze. I parked and got out. The air was still damp, the neighborhood too quiet. I crossed the street and knocked on the door of the house opposite. After a minute or two, an older woman answered, maybe late 60s, holding a dish towel. I asked if she knew what was going on with the house across the street. Her expression shifted, cautious but not surprised. That place's been empty for a while, she said. The old man who lived there passed away. Cancer, I think. That was back in June. I asked if anyone had moved in. She shook her head. His kids came and cleared the place out last week. Dumpster in the driveway and everything. It's supposed to go on the market soon. I stared past her across the street. My brain didn't want to connect the dots. I asked her if anyone had been there recently, maybe last night. She paused, her eyes narrowing. Why do you ask? I didn't answer, just thanked her and backed away. I got in my car, stared at the screen, then I uninstalled it, deleted the account that night. I kept wondering who or what had opened that garage door, and more importantly, who had closed it after I left.